Hi, and welcome to Maths with Kirin. This is the first stream we're doing where we might actually have some people watching live, and I'm really excited to be bringing this to you guys. I know the MCAT assessment is coming out really soon, and the weeks will go by quite quickly, so it's really awesome that you guys are keen to start doing some work and getting yourselves prepared for that. Today we are looking at expanding, so I'm going to go through the skill of expanding brackets, both single and double brackets, and then I've got a couple of old exam questions to go through with you just so you can see where the skill sort of comes up. Like the last video, if you watched that, a lot of the times that we are looking at expanding in your assessment, it won't be a simple just expand these brackets kind of question. So I'm really trying to lead you into solving equations, which is where we see these skills quite a lot. Having said that, there is one question I'm going to go through with you towards the end of the session today that does have a pretty sort of straightforward just expand the brackets, but with the MCAT they don't tell you that that's what you have to do. So not only do you need to know the skill, you also need to learn and know when to apply it and what kinds of questions to apply it to. So that's what we are going to be doing today. So for expanding, we are looking at multiplying out brackets. Okay, so for single brackets, we want to multiply the term directly outside the bracket with each of the terms inside the bracket. Okay, when we've done that, we want to check that we have the simple or the most simple expression. So we want to simplify as much as possible. And we need to remember that BEDMAS rules still apply. Okay, and particularly for the second example here, I'll sort of show you how that works. But that's it. Okay, so we're multiplying out the brackets. So for this first example, we've got 3 times 2x, which is 6x squared, and then 3 times negative 7 gives us negative 21. In this case, we've got an x squared term and a number, so we can't simplify any further. That's it. For this second question, this is where we need to just make sure that we're remembering our BEDMAS rules. We've got 4 minus 2 multiplied by 5x plus 3. So in our BEDMAS, we need to multiply first. That means that we're going to be multiplying this 5x plus 3 through by that negative 2, and we're going to leave the 4 out in front, and then we'll tidy it up. So with our 4, we write that down first. Negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. And then we're still looking at negative 2 times positive 3 here, gives us negative 6. Okay, so in this case, we've got 4 minus 6. We can tidy that up. That will give us negative 2 minus 10x. Convention in mathematics means that we often write the x term first. If you have negative 2 minus 10x, you still get full marks, but you'll probably see in marking schedules, they'll write it this way around, just because x terms generally go in front of numbers. But as I said before, this will still get you full marks. Okay. If we look at double brackets, so this time we want to multiply each term in the first bracket by each term in the second bracket without missing any. We simplify again, and we still need to remember that our BEDMAS rules apply. Some people might have learnt this FOIL as a way to remember and make sure that you're not missing out any terms. Some people might have talked about a crab claw. You might have other ways of doing it. I'll run through this FOIL and I'll sort of draw on this example for you, and then we've got 3 more to do. So in FOIL, the F stands for first, so that means that we multiply the first terms together. So x times x gives us x squared. The O stands for the outside terms, so the terms on the outside of the bracket. So x again, and this time a negative 2. So x times negative 2 is negative 2x. I for inside, so we've got a 3 and an x, so 3 times x gives us plus 3x. And then L for the last terms in each bracket, so our 3 again and our negative 2 gives us negative 6. Okay, so this is sort of your crab claw picture. Some people might have learnt that sort of crab claw thing. From here, again, we want to simplify, so look for like terms. X squared, we don't have any other like terms, so that stays as it is. Negative 2x, well, we can add 3x to that. That just gives us x. And then minus 6 to finish off. So x squared plus x minus 6. So if we go through these three examples, this one pretty similar. We just need to remember that we've got a 2x here. So we're multiplying through by 2x. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 3 for our outside terms is plus 6x. Our inside terms, negative 7 times x. And then our last terms, negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. I'll just draw a line there to make it that separate. And then our like terms in the middle, 6x minus 7x. So we've got 2x squared minus x minus 21. For our second example, we've got this 2 out in front. So there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can either expand your brackets like we just did before, and then once you've simplified, you need to multiply everything by 2. Or you can pull a 2 and multiply it into this first bracket and then expand the brackets. It doesn't matter, you should end up with the same thing. I tend to pull a 2 into the brackets and then expand the brackets. It means that I don't know, I just seem to do it that way for some reason. So if we do that, we get 2 times 5x is 10x, and then 2 times 3 is 6. That's still in brackets, because we still want to multiply all of this by our x minus 2. 10x times x is 10x squared. 10x times negative 2 is minus 20x. 6 times x is 6x, and then 6 times negative 2 is negative 12, and then tidying that up, we've still got our 10x squared, and then negative 20x plus 6x is negative 14x. Just be careful with negatives. You'll know that with MCAT you're not allowed a calculator, so just take your time if you need to, and make sure that you don't make any errors unnecessarily. And minus 12. Cool. In our third example, and our final example for the double brackets, we've got x minus 3, and that is all squared. So you'll know when you square something in maths, you're multiplying that thing by itself. So my advice would be to write out your bracket twice. Because that way, you're more likely to remember to multiply the x by both x and minus 3, and the minus 3 by both x and minus 3. One of the really common errors in maths with this kind of question is that people square the x and they square the negative 3 and that's it. But if you do that, you're going to miss out that middle x term. So write your brackets out one after the other, and then we can just use the FOIL or the crab claw or whatever method you prefer in order to expand it out. So x times x is x squared, x times negative 3 is negative 3x, and then negative 3 times x, negative 3x, and then negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Again, just be careful with those negatives. Don't get caught out by those. Simplifying in the middle, we've still got our x squared minus 3x minus another 3x gives us minus 6x plus 9. Okay, cool. So I've got 2 questions from old exams. So this question is from a 2018 paper. As I said before, these sorts of questions, well, the sorts of questions that you can expect where you'll need to expand will be more likely in solving equations, but this one has popped up before, so it's worth going through. It tells us that the sides of a rectangle are 2x plus 3 and x minus 2. And it's asking us to give us an expression for the area of the rectangle in this form: ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so there's quite a bit of information here, and some of this stuff might look a little bit foreign to you. If we just take a step back and think about our rectangle, sometimes some people find it helpful to have a little diagram. So if you think of a rectangle, one side is 2x plus 3, and then the other side is x minus 2. So that's what we've got. We want an expression for the area of our rectangle. So to find the area of our rectangle, we multiply base times height. Okay, and we have an expression for the base, and we have an expression for the height here. They want it in this form, this ax squared plus bx plus c, which might look a little bit weird. A and b and c here are just standing in for numbers, and we want to find out what those numbers are. So a is just the coefficient or the number in front of the x squared. B is the coefficient of the x, and then c is what we would call the constant, the number at the end. And so those examples that we just did before, where we were expanding out two brackets, we ended up with an x squared term, an x, and a number at the end. That's all that this is saying. Okay, so to find the area, we want to multiply base times height. So base is 2x plus 3. We want to multiply that by all of x minus 2. So all they're asking us to do is expand this. Okay, nowhere in the question has it told us that we need to expand. That was what I meant before when I said we may need to use the skill, but we also need to know when to use it. Okay, so expanding this out, 2x times x gives us 2x squared. 2x times negative 2 is negative 4x. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Okay, simplifying, we get 2x squared minus 4x plus 3x is negative x, and then minus 6 to finish. Okay, so if we get that, then that's an achieved skill, and so we've got achieved for that particular question. Okay, if you want to practice this, you'll know that the MCAT has two papers, one for the Tuesday and one for the Thursday. I've taken this from what they call paper A. So in paper B from 2018, there will be a very similar question, different numbers, but if you want to have a go, that might be a good place to go and get a question where you can practice that. If you get stuck, come back, rewatch this bit and see if it helps you out. The second and final question that I want to go through today is from last year's paper, and it's a little bit more tricky. There's a bit more going on in this one. Turn this over. So again, we're dealing with a rectangle, but we've kind of got rectangles within rectangles. So here is our garden. And the lawn is only this area that's sort of in white. So we don't need the garage and we don't need the bit with the flowers where we're going to have our lawn. It tells us that L is equal to x squared plus x plus 1. And we're asked to find an expression for the area of the lawn in terms of L. Okay, find an expression for the area of the lawn in terms of L. So here's L. That might look a little bit confusing. We're going to deal with that towards the end of the question. The first thing we need to do is find an expression for the area of the lawn. Once we have an expression for the area of the lawn, we'll see if we can write that using this L bit that we've got here. So we just want this sort of bit, like that's sort of the white part, it's labeled lawn. To get that, we can work out the area of the entire rectangle, and then we just need to subtract the area of the garage and the area of the flowers. Okay, and we can do that because we are given the dimensions of the garage and the dimensions of the flowers. So we want to take our 8x plus 3, and I'll just write this up here, 8x plus 3, and we're going to multiply that by this length, the 6x plus 2. Okay, and that's going to give us the area of this whole thing. We then need to subtract the area of the garage, and we find that by taking our 3x minus 2 and multiplying that by 2x plus 1. And we also need to subtract the area of this flower bed, I'm going to assume it is. So this is an x, and we're multiplying that by 2x minus 5. Hopefully you can read that all right on your screen, so it's a little bit small. Okay, so this is our expression. It looks kind of long, but we're just going to tackle it a bit at a time and see where we end up. Okay, so I'm just going to move this up so you can see what I'm doing. You won't be able to see the diagram at the moment, but that's okay as long as you hopefully understand where we've got our expression from. So if we expand out our brackets, and then we'll simplify, and then we'll deal with these subtractions. So for this bracket here, we've got 8x times 6x. So 8 times 6 is 48. So that will give us 48x squared plus 16x plus 3 times 6x, which is 18x plus 6. And I'm going to put that in brackets so I know that that all belongs with that. we are going to subtract, and again I'm going to expand this out, but I'm going to put it in a set of brackets because I need to make sure that I'm subtracting that whole thing. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times 1 gives us 3x. Negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. And then negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And we're also going to subtract, I'm going to try and fit this in here, x times 2x is 2x squared. And then x times negative 5 is negative 5x. I have not done a good job of fitting that in, I'm sorry. That does say negative 5x. When we simplify, I'll get rid of some of this stuff and you'll be able to see it a little bit better. Okay, so I've left the negatives out in front, and once we've simplified, then we're going to deal with those. Okay, some people, when they expand, they might bring the negative through. I think it's easier at the moment to leave it where they are. Just expand your brackets. Once we've simplified, we can deal with that. Okay, so in here, 48x squared isn't going to change. 16x plus 18x is 34, plus 34x, and then plus 6. Just put it in brackets because it keeps it together. Simplifying this, we've still got 6x squared. 3x minus 4x is negative x, and then our minus 2. And then 2x squared minus 5x stays the same. Okay, and we can read it a lot better now. So now we want to go through and maybe bring these negatives through. Some people might simplify from here, so do the subtractions, and you can do that. You just need to remember that you are, in this instance, you are minusing negative x. So it might be easier to bring our negative through, and we might be less likely to make an error. So this first bracket doesn't change. So we've got our, oops, that's supposed to be 48, sorry. That's a little bit messy. 48x squared plus 34x plus 6. And then we're going to bring our minus through. So minus 6x squared minus negative x means that we're actually going to be adding x. And minus negative 2 means we're going to be adding 2. Okay. For this one here, again, minus 2x squared. So we're just subtracting that. And then minus negative 5x means that we are adding 5x. Okay, we don't need brackets around these anymore because we've brought those negatives through. So now we just want to simplify. We've got 48x squared. We want to minus 6x squared. So that would take us down to 42x squared. And then we minus another 2x squared. So that gives us 40x squared. 34x plus x will give us 35x. Plus 5x gives us plus 40x. 6 plus 2 is 8. And we've got no other constants. So an expression for our area is 40x squared plus 40x plus 8. If we go back to the question, it's a good time to point out that once you've done something, always go back to your question and make sure that they're not asking you something else that you've forgotten about. So the question, you'll remember, has given us this L. So L is equal to x squared plus x plus 1. And we want to find an expression for the area of the lawn in terms of L. So we know the area of the lawn is 40x squared plus 40x plus 8. We want to write that in terms of L. And L is equal to x squared plus x plus 1. The first thing you might notice, 40x squared and 40x, well, that would be 40 lots of L to get that. So if we have 40L, we would get 40x squared plus 40x plus 40. Okay, so multiplying all of these by our 40. We want 40x squared, so we've got that. We want 40x, we've got that. We want 8, we've got 40. So if we've got 40 and we want to take that to 8, what do we need to do? We need to subtract 32. Okay, so the area in terms of L, A for area, is going to be 40L, which would give us this. And then we need to take 32 away, and that's just so that we get that plus 8 instead of the plus 40. That's it. So there's quite a lot of work in this question, and there's quite a few places with these negatives where you might make an error. If you get all the way through and you get A equals 40L minus 32, that's an excellent skill. Okay, so you would get an excellent grade for this question. If you got all the way through to 40x squared plus 40x plus 8, that's merit level. Okay, so you couldn't quite make the leap to get it in terms of L, but you can get the area in terms of X. Then that is your merit level skill. If when you are sort of doing this expanding and you make one error with one of these negatives, so for example, you left that as negative 5x instead of making it positive 5x, and then you still sort of work your way through, this obviously will be different, but you make a reasonable attempt, then you can still get your merit, okay, even if you do have one error. Okay, and if you simplify your quadratic, as I said before. For achieved, you need to establish an expression for the area, or you need to expand correctly two pairs of the brackets. Okay, if you can do that, then you can get achieved. So if you can set this up, even if you don't quite get the expanding stuff, you can still get achieved. Okay, if you make an error, you can still get merit. Okay, and if you work that through to your 40L minus 32, you get excellence. Okay, so that was from last year's MCAT, and it's from paper A. If you want another question that's similar to this, so you can practice this yourself, then go on to NCEA and have a look at paper B, see if you can find the similar question, and you can have a go at that. Okay, I'm just going to throw my timetable up for a second, just so you can have a look at what's coming up. So on Wednesday, we're looking at factorizing. So you can join in if you want some more practice with factorizing. And I'm just having a look at your questions that have come through. The last bracket on the second row meant to be negative 2x squared plus 5. Ah, yes, it does end up being negative 2x squared plus 5. So if I just bring you back and go back to the paper, so that was here. You were right, you do end up with negative 2x squared plus 5. I just took my time in getting there. If you can do that earlier, then that's fine. I just left my negatives and took those through at the end. I find I'm less likely to make mistakes when I do it that way. But yeah, you were correct. It does end up being negative 2x squared plus 5x. Okay, I hope I answered that question. So that kind of brings me to the end of our session today. I really hope it was helpful. And if you liked it, you thought it was useful, then give me a thumbs up. Feel free to share the page with other friends who might be sitting MCAT, even if they're from different schools. If you think that they might find it useful, that'd be really awesome. And hopefully I'll see some of you again on Wednesday when we'll look at factorizing, so the reverse of this. On Thursday, I'll be on at 5:30. If you have questions because you're watching this later, or you think of something that you want to ask about as you're doing some practice questions for this kind of skill, you can either message or email me. My email is up there, so mathswithkirin@gmail.com. Email it through, and on Thursday when I come on at 5:30, I can answer those questions for you. If you've got some working, take a photo and email it through, and I can help you out with that. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching. Best of luck with all of your other studies, and I hope that I see some of you guys on Wednesday.